Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted that you're part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is David McArthur. He is the author of What Does a Caterpillar Do? And this is an incredibly powerful interview that goes places I never expected. Before we invite David into the studio, we want to invite you to join us because we are reading in the new year. That's right, reading in the new year. It is our week-long free virtual literacy event that we want to invite you to. We are going to have performances, read aloud stories, and so much more. Please be sure to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids. On Twitter, it's @JedleyMagic. On Instagram, it's @readingwithyourkids. To learn all about this fantastic event that you and your kids will absolutely adore. And if you are the author of a great children's book and want to be part of this event, please be sure to contact us here at Reading With Your Kids. Go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the contact button, and let us know you want to be part of the 2020 Reading in the New Year event. Joining us right now from Vancouver Island in British Columbia and the beautiful nation of Canada. We're here to celebrate his brand new book, What Does a Caterpillar Do? Please welcome to the show, David McArthur. David, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing?
Wonderful. We are recording this the day after the Canadian Thanksgiving celebration, so happy belated Thanksgiving.
Thank you very much. I'm very full of turkey right now.
Well, it's good to know that you also follow that Thanksgiving tradition. What a beautiful! I was looking last night to see if I know that there are Thanksgiving celebrations all around the world, and I was looking if there was one every month in a different country. It would be so cool just to celebrate Thanksgiving all year long. But they all seem to be in either October or November.
That's just not fair, is it? We could have had turkey every day of every month of the year.
So tell us about What Does a Caterpillar Do? I have my copy here that David sent down. It's a beautiful book and a really neat story.
Thank you. So it's actually there's quite a story to actually the creation of this book, and it's something that has been born from basically my entire life. I started reading and writing when I was very young. In fact, I struggled to read and write because I have dyslexia. Obviously, October is Dyslexia Awareness Month, which is great. And as a kid, It took a long time for me to learn to read. I had a lot of support, a lot of help from my parents who really pushed the authorities in the UK to recognise that I had this difficulty. And it was a lot later when I was obviously more of an adult. I was trying to think of how I could help kids who also had similar struggles to myself. And I came up with this idea of What Does or the What Does series, where you ask kids a question and then you get them to interact in some way with the question being asked, and then you give them a silly answer, or you give them the answer to the question. But the whole idea in the book is to take that original idea and to turn it into something that's really interactive, so that kids, when they sit down to read this book with their parents, it's not just a story being read to the kids or the kids reading a story. There's that interactive element to it, to really help kids learn the words that are in there and gain the confidence to read the book as well. So the book is really designed to help young kids or kids who are struggling to read gain that confidence in their reading ability.
You know, it's interesting that you're using the word confidence. I think that's the appropriate word. Because as we know as adults, if we're not confident when we're trying to learn something, we'll be able to learn it, but it's a lot easier if we go into the learning process believing that we'll be able to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what a lot of kids who have read this series of books have really gained, is that confidence. I mean, it's a very simple book. You're as I said before, you're literally asking the child, what does a caterpillar do, or what does a bee do? And then you're giving them the answer, but there's so much more to it than that. There's a lot of depth to it in terms of you're also introducing the child to all the different insects that they can find in their garden, and so you're creating that curious mindset as well. So you're giving them the confidence, and then you're making them a little bit more curious to go out and not just discover things in their garden, but also read other books and test themselves too.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed as I was reading your book is that, I'm imagining back when my son was 3 or 4 years old, back when my daughter was the same age, and, just going, hey, does a caterpillar, I forget the different animals, insects, but does a caterpillar do what a spider does? And it's no. And I could just hear my son shouting out no every time I asked that question. So it does. I can see where kids will have a lot of fun with the book, but also get excited to have that same experience with another book.
Yeah, exactly. And, there's so many people have actually commented on exactly that. They've made the point that, who doesn't love shouting no anytime? The kids love it. So you're injecting that sort of fun element to it, but also asking, does a caterpillar catch flies in a web? The kids know the answer, so that it's already familiar to them where you're going next with the story. They know the spider is coming, but they love shouting out the no's, and they love laughing at the little picture of the caterpillar trying to build a web, and they're getting a little bit freaked out by the big spider who's caught a fly. I've got a fantastic illustrator in Lucy Rogers, and she's done a really amazing job at injecting personality into these different insects, and to really build on that sense of fun and interactiveness and just humour as well.
Now, there are a lot of different insects that you could have chosen to be the central character or the star of your book, but you chose the caterpillar. Was there a reason behind that? Was there a particular reason why you chose the caterpillar that changes into a butterfly?
Yeah, there's a very deep meaning to the entire book, and not a particularly happy meaning, unfortunately. A few years ago, one of my friends lost her 2 daughters on Christmas Day. Her ex-husband unfortunately ended their lives. It was a very emotional event, obviously. And at the time, I really wanted to do something to remember Chloe and Aubrey and to honour their memories and try and make something a little bit more positive out of their lives. And the caterpillar symbolises them. Their mum often has referred to them as her butterflies, and the idea of a caterpillar turning into this butterfly really, I felt, symbolised what I wanted to do in terms of creating this memory for them and of them. I had read my other books at Chloe's school, and she had sat on my knee and she had shouted out the no's and laughed at all the different insects and the doctors and the fairy godmother of the other books that I've written. And so, again, it felt very appropriate and very apt to write a book for them and about them as this caterpillar turning into a butterfly. And I think it's trying to be a positive message about kids learning that they're going to change throughout their lives, that they're going to turn into something beautiful, but they're unique as well. All the insects in the book are unique, and they all have different individual skills, and it's trying to build on that idea as well. Again, the whole changing from one thing into another. And as I say, the illustrations that Lucy has put into the book captures that, and it really captures the essence of Chloe and Aubrey in the book. And we even have a little statement in there from Sarah, the girl's mum, at the back of the book. And then there's a dedication with 2 beautiful butterflies in the book as well to Chloe and Aubrey. And actually, all the profits that we're making from the book are going to help a local charity here in Victoria. It's a children's charity. It's called the Victoria Child Abuse Prevention and Counselling Centre, and they really help kids who are in difficult situations where you've got an abusive parent or they've been abused. So I say all the profits from sales of the book are going to that charity.
I'm just absolutely blown away. It's hard for me to process hearing that a parent could harm a child in any way, and certainly it's beyond my imagination to think that a parent could end their child's life. I'm having a hard time continuing this interview. Where did you find the strength to just go on? These 2 kids that you loved were stolen away from their mom, from you, from our world. Where did you find the strength to carry on?
It's a difficult question to answer. Time helps. A lot of the strength that the community here in Victoria have gained has come from Sarah herself. Throughout everything that she has been through, she has maintained a presence of dignity and strength, and I think the community have drawn from that. And that was another reason why I wanted to write this book, was to give something back to the community and to give the community a way of showing Sarah quite how much they are with her. And certainly the reaction that the book has had proves that BC and Canada, and even into the States and the UK where people heard this news of what happened, they've been so supportive. The book was the #1 best-selling kids book in Canada at one point. And as much so I'd love to think that it's due to the book itself, it's due to the community wanting to give something back to Sarah. And I think that's where a lot of the strength has come from, is the community, but also Sarah herself, and talking with her and being with her and wanting to give something back to her as this memory of something that you've created in honor of her 2 beautiful girls. And so it's not so much a strength of trying to carry on. It's more of a passion to do something positive for Sarah and for the community, rather than any sort of core strength that someone might have.
You're talking about something that's really beautiful that's come out of this horrific event. This idea of community and support. I wish it was something that we see everywhere, but I don't see it in every community. What is it about your community that it seems that you all seem to naturally rally together to support Sarah?
I think Vancouver Island is a small community. We are apart from the rest of Canada in many ways. We've got this large body of water between us and other places. And I think it's much more inward looking as a result of that. People are interested in what their neighbours are doing. They're interested in how people are coping. And I think to a degree that's Canadians as well. They're much more... Growing up in the UK, people were much more in a sort of dog-eat-dog world. In Canada, people are much more focused on helping each other and being friendly with each other. And so I think it's a natural thing for Canadians in general, and even more so on Vancouver Island. But also, I think anyone across the planet could not fail to be moved by what happened. And I think sometimes it takes a truly tragic event to bring people closer together. And I wish that wasn't the case.
I do too. It's it's really hard for me to wrap my mind around. It's certainly not the first time I've heard of anything like this happening. But every time you hear about it happening, it's just this disconnect that you can't imagine. And I know as a younger person, my initial reaction would be just rage. But now, as I'm approaching 100 years old, I can't imagine whatever kind of demons must have been tormenting the dad to cause him to do this.
No, and I don't think it's something that anyone can speculate on either. As a parent myself, I'm with you. I cannot possibly imagine anything like this. It blows my mind, and it's truly nonsensical in so many different levels. I mean, words actually fail you. You cannot express disbelief enough and a misunderstanding, not understanding how this could have occurred. And there are obviously wider issues involved and other issues in play surrounding this. And it's obviously a very political discussion that you could get into in terms of failures of child prevention and child care and that sort of thing. And in many ways, I had hoped that the book would spark some sort of conversation around that. And that's obviously something that you can only do by getting the message out about the book and why it's been written and getting people thinking about that sort of thing. But at the same time, the book really is designed to just be a simple way of honouring two beautiful girls who lost their lives way too soon and show their mother that actually every time someone buys a copy, it's a piece of love, a piece of someone's heart that they're giving to Sarah and showing her, we haven't forgotten, we're here for you and we love you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. One of the things you're talking about, hoping that this book sparked a conversation about ways to prevent child abuse. What would you hope came from that conversation, and what kind of things do you think that we need to talk about as a society?
I think a lot of the issues that we have with child abuse that occurs is it's too easy for people to sweep it under the rug and to move on too quickly. And you actually need to sit back and think about ways that we can protect our children more than we do. And not just in Canada, but across the world. And I think that's the bigger issue here is, as I say, too often it's just an unpleasant topic and people don't want to think about it and they don't want to talk about it. And it's not that people don't care. They just don't want to have to care about it, if you know what I mean.
I absolutely know what you mean. I grew up in a time where, what went on in a family behind closed doors was that, you just kind of, that's over there, that's their business, there must be a reason for that. I knew, we didn't talk about it, but we knew that there was at least one kid in our neighborhood, one of our buddies, who was, being abused on a regular basis, not to the extent that Chloe and Aubrey suffered. But, it was just one of those things that you didn't talk about. And I'm glad we're talking about it more, but I agree with you. We don't talk about it enough.
And there isn't enough things in place or programs in place to help protect kids from this. Sometimes the authorities feel like they're doing the right thing by putting kids into dangerous situations because they see it as the duty of care for both parents to have equal rights and equal share in kids. And that's not always black and white. And it goes both ways. It's not just, fathers, or it's also mothers as well in some cases. People have to be a little bit more willing to take a step to help protect kids and have those difficult conversations and not just make assumptions about situations.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things I think we also have to do is we have to be willing to step up, I think, and step up with our dollars in terms of supporting programs that help prevent child abuse and step up with dollars to help provide the mental health care that folks need. And also step up. We've had a number of guests on the show talking about the foster care situation here in the United States. I believe, if I remember correctly, there are 400,000 kids in the foster care system looking for a forever home. And one of the reasons it takes so long to get a kid out of a abusive situation is because there are so many kids that are already in the system and there's no room for any more. And so one way we can help those kids that are, that need the help is to help get some of those foster kids forever homes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I'm really, this interview took a turn that I didn't expect. But I'm glad it did because I think we talked about some really important things, and I don't think that a family sitting down to reading and having fun with what does a caterpillar do. I don't think that this is necessarily a conversation that they should have with their kids, but I think knowing this backstory, it can be a real reminder for us that when we're sitting down and we're reading what does a caterpillar do, and our kids are shouting no and they're having fun, it's a really important thing for us to remember how much love we have and to remember how precious these kids are, and to understand that we need to help some families experience that love too, and support all families.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, the book is a fun book. It's designed to be interactive. It's designed to help kids learn to read and gain that confidence to read, as we were saying at the start of the show. And I don't want, obviously, people to buy the book and feel sad about having this book. I mean, it was written for a positive reason, and the money that is being raised by sales of the book are helping so many kids in difficult situations. And so it's about turning something that was truly tragic and truly awful into something positive and giving back to the wider community as, this positive, beautiful book. I mean, Lucy, as I said before, has done a fantastic job on the illustrations. They're truly world class. And it's that positive element that I really want people to take away from the book for sure.
Yeah. Well, please, David, tell everybody where they can go to find out more. First, find out more about this charity that's being supported by sales of the book.
Okay, so there's website links, or there's links to my website. My website is kidsauthor.com. You can also find out a little bit more about this charity by going to searching on Google for the Victoria Child Abuse Prevention and Counselling Centre. And you can actually find copies of the book on the Orca Book publisher's website as well.
Awesome. And I think that this would be a good a good time to remind everybody that there are programs in every community designed to help prevent child abuse. And maybe this is the catalyst to get you to go online and Google and find out what programs in your local area are helping kids and get involved.
Absolutely. I think that's so smart. And, it's so important that people are aware that you're not alone in these situations. And either if you're a child or a parent who's seeing this, or someone in your local community is suffering, there are programs in place to help avoid this situation and to help protect kids. In fact, the book opens with a dedication to, which really sums up, I think, this conversation. And the quote goes, every child counts. It is the responsibility of every adult to cherish and protect them. Nothing else matters. I think that really sums up our conversation today.
Absolutely. And this is a great time to say thank you to David McArthur for joining us today. Please go out and check out What Does a Caterpillar Do, and help the kids and families in your area feel supported and loved. David, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Jeff Kubiak. He'll be returning to the show to celebrate his brand new book, It's Me. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book, you want to be sure to visit readingwithyourkids.com. We have so many great ways to help you tell the world about your fantastic book. Of course, you may want to be a guest on the podcast. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, it doesn't cost a thing, and it gives you the chance to tell thousands of people about your fantastic book. We also have our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program. It has helped so many authors help their book really stand out. And of course, we want to let you know about our Reading in the New Year event. You can learn all about all of those services by going to our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, want to thank our guest, David McArthur. Be sure to check out What Does a Caterpillar Do. Also want to thank my team, Alejandro Doherty, Fatima Khan. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.